I was very happy to get my bike back this morning from the bike shop. Cable snapped and I couldn't change gears. I was halfway around the lake and the cable snapped and then it was stuck in the hardest gear possible and it was very hard to ride home. Easy for going downhill, but very hard for going uphill. Very hard. So I was very pleased to get that this morning. Just got a phone call this morning and I shut down to South Waikato Bicycles in Lawn Care and got my bike, so I'm very happy about that. Took it for a test drive in uniform, and yeah, it works fine. I wanted to mention, oh, last night when I was on security patrol, sometimes I get ideas that pop in my head as I walk around, and one of them, the one I got last night, was the silent treatment. So the silent treatment. Now, when I was married and in relationships with females, I always felt that the silent treatment, and I'm not sure why, probably because my mother used to do it to my father, was that the silent treatment, that's not always by women, men do it too, was normal female behaviour. So when my mother did it to my father, I just figured it was normal. When my wife did it to me, I thought it was normal. When my girlfriends did it to me, I thought it was normal. It's only in recent times it's really occurred to me that it's actually manipulation. Now, if you have to do anything to get another person to do what you want, that's manipulation. You're trying to force or trick or coerce someone into doing something, seduce or whatever, to do something you want them to do that they normally wouldn't do. So it comes down to what they normally wouldn't do. We have boundaries, we have feelings, we have thoughts. We say, this is what I want to do, this is not what I want to do. And then someone comes along and finds a way to make us do it. So in this case, the silent treatment is when the person just doesn't talk to the other person. And they say, my mother used to actually, and I'm not joking about this, she used to physically go at Dad right in his face, stiff her nose up in the air like that. And she had a huge nose, which made it even funnier. And she'd sniff her nose up in the air and she'd say, I'm not talking to you now. And then she just wouldn't talk to him for days. And I don't think it really upset Dad in the end. I think he finally figured out, well, it's better she was quiet than when she was nagging him. So you have to realise that if you're nagging and pestering a person, if you give them the silent treatment, you're actually doing them a favour. So that's something to think about. But I have a funny story about it. It was rather funny. My I try not to name people's names or tell who they are, but it's kind of awkward when you had a wife. But anyway, my ex-wife used to do the silent treatment on me. What I did was I had a choice of keeping my children out of it or telling my children what was happening. And as a child, mum and dad used to do all sorts of really weird attacks on each other. And as children, we were very confused by what was going on because in our souls, we knew they were supposed to be married, they were supposed to be in love, and they weren't. They were always at each other's throats, so we couldn't figure this out at all. So what I did with my children, my ex-wife was very angry with me about it. She said, "Oh, I was pitting the children against her." Was whenever she'd have tantrums or do the silent treatment, like she'd stop talking to me, and then she'd say, we'd be in the kitchen, and I'd ask her a question, and she'd say to one of the children, "Can you tell your father the answer is blah blah blah?" And they'd tell me, and they'd sort of look at me like, "What? What the heck? Why can't she's in the room? Why doesn't she just tell you?" And so it's very confusing for them. And I believe that when one parent is manipulative, it teaches some of the children to become manipulators or narcissists as well. So you need to sit there, and I think it's wise to tell your children what's going on if you're the victim. And so I would say to children, Mum's not talking to me, and I do it in front of her to let her know get a feel of what it was like to have them know her silly behaviour. And I'd say, your mother's not talking to me. And they'd look at me and they'd go, why? She's in the room. I'd say, well, mum's upset about me over something. And she's unhappy. And so she's decided that not talking to me for a few days is her way of showing me she doesn't like what's going on, or she hopes I will give her whatever she wants, or she can have her way, or whatever it is, if she just stops talking to me. And the children were amazed. They'd never seen anything like that before. They were absolutely stunned. Why would someone stop talking to somebody when they're right there in the room? Anyway, so the funny story was we'd had an argument of something, and she said to me, I'm not talking to you. And I said, oh, well, okay. And there's not anything I could do about it. So she walked out, and I wasn't going to give in to manipulative treatment that I knew of. I gave in, I got sucked in many other ways, but in this particular way, I was clear about what was happening. She was not going to talk to me until she got what her way. So I thought, oh, well, I'll leave her. And normally it was over something unfair that she got that the others didn't get. So, so I'd say, oh, well, okay. And day one went by and the children were like rolling their eyes. Day two went by and everyone was starting to get used to it. Day three went by and everyone was like, oh, this is how life's going to be. And then our friends Keith and Teresa turned up. Now, Keith's was a friend of mine since I was about 18. And I started knowing him for a long time. And Teresa was his new wife. And they came up for a visit every now and then. We'd go and visit them, and they were the closest friends we had. And so they turned up, and they came out. I was laughing when I saw them with the drove, because I knew it was painfully obvious that what was going on with silent treatment. So when they turned up, they came in, to cut a long story short, they came in, they sat down, and then they asked me a question, and I answered and made them a coffee, and then they asked her a question, and then she sort of looked down at the ground, and she couldn't fake it because she couldn't remember the answer, and she had to ask me something. So she was stuffed, and she couldn't say to the children, can you ask your father in front of the friends? So my friend, Keith and Teresa were looking at me like, what's going on? And I said, she's giving me the silent treatment. And they roared into laughter. They thought it was so funny. And they said, oh, why? What's wrong? And in the end, we all ended up laughing about it. The whole four of us, we all thought it was a great joke. And that was the end of the silent treatment at that time. So it was very funny. So if someone comes up and someone's giving you the silent treatment, they either embarrass themselves more or they just chuck it away and forget it. And so, yeah. So that was my little funny story. I thought it was very funny. But the silent treatment is manipulation because it's trying to get you to do something you normally wouldn't do. And it's kind of like a tantrum. I will sulk until you do what I want. I knew I had a friend who was a heavy sulker, and he would sulk and not talk to anyone for 2 or 3 days or whatever it was. While he was sulking, he was upset over something. But sulking's kind of like things didn't go your way, and you feel miserable, I suppose, and you sulk and you're upset because you don't know how to react to what's not gone your way. Mind you, sulking could also be considered the silent treatment. You'd stop sulking when things went your way if someone made them go your way, and then so sulking could be considered a form of manipulation as well. So when it comes to manipulation, think of anything that the other person can do to you that would make you change your mind about something you normally, if in a normal situation someone asks you to do something, you wouldn't do it. Think of that. And then in another situation, or depending on different people maybe, or different environments, they ask you the same thing. Like one is the one about tattoos. You don't want to get tattoos ever. And the person's trying to manipulate you into getting tattoos. They'll deliberately put you in a group of people who are going to get tattoos. And then they'll say, well, we're going to get tattoos. And everyone will go, yay, let's go get a tattoo. I've seen people do that on Facebook. They all go and have a tattoo night, which is very weird. To me, it's really weird. I can't consider can't the way someone would want to mark their body, but everyone has their reasons for what they do, and so they go off and they have a tattoo night. Everyone gets a tattoo put on them, and this person doesn't want to feel left out, so they're being manipulated into getting the tattoo along with everyone else. Once they get a permanent mark on them, it reminds them that to get to feel secure in your friendships and relationships, you must give in. And the tattoos to remind you every time they see the tattoo, they go, "Oh yeah, I got the tattoo," and then they realise I always thought I was never going to get a tattoo, and then they think, "Oh well, it made my friends happy," So things that make others happy is not your. It's not your job to make other people happy. If they don't are not going to be happy, that's fine. That's some issue, some mental problem they have, some beliefs, some belief system, some ideas, whatever. It's their issue. Your job is not to meet them. So you sit there and you say to yourself, well, they got a problem with this, they got a problem with that, they got a problem with me, they got a problem with my friend. That's their problem. That's not my problem. And it's not my job to mend their problems. It's not my job to fix what's wrong they don't like. And it's not my job to fix the problems that they have with my life and the way I want to live it. So if I want to live my life in a certain way, people don't like it. They try to find ways to make me do things their way. If they have to manipulate you, there's something wrong with them. Because you have your life, you can live it any way you like. So think of it logically. This is your life. You want to live it this way. They don't want you to live it this way. Why? Because they have some kind of issue, not you. And none of us are perfect. We make mistakes. And if we have an addiction or things we need to get through, we'll get through them in our own time when we're ready, how we, and it's best to have our mind right when we deal with these things. Other people trying to pressure, trying to push us, trying to force us to do things we don't want to do, to even like giving up smoking. That's another one that really used to drive me crazy when I was smoking. Non-smokers been so nasty, about me smoking, calling me weak and stupid. And so now, as a non smoker, whenever I see someone picking at a smoker, I get very defensive of the smoker. And I say, look, they'll quit when they want to. They push them, don't pick at them, don't call them names, just leave them alone. And it's up to them. Now, that person may die of cancer, but that's not my fault. But the person pushing them, more than likely will force them into smoking longer than giving up. Yelling, shaming and manipulating the person doesn't work. So, Anyway, so the silent treatment is manipulation. If someone in your home is using the silent treatment, that person could be doing it unintentionally or not unintentionally without realizing it's manipulative, or monkey see, monkey do. My mother used to do it all the time, so I'm doing it in my marriage. And so they need to be made aware that it's unacceptable and it's wrong. And but people like narcissists, they will do it on purpose, and they'll pretend they're not doing it on purpose, or they'll pretend it's normal. And so you just, it's manipulative, and you should never accept it or put up with it. And when it comes to manipulative treatment of you as a husband or a wife, think of the children, think of how they're viewing it, and say to yourself, as a victim, do I want my children being victims to see me accept being manipulated, it's normal because they will. And some of them will look at the manipulator or the narcissist and say, I want to be like that. This is how you control a woman, or this is how you control men. And so by enabling the manipulation, you're enabling, you're causing your children to either be a manipulator, a narcissist, or be a victim. So we need to have the courage to deal with this and stop this sort of thing happening in our lives for our children's sake and any other observers.